Madam, please begin.
Sir, Rajesh sir.
Madam, please start. We are live.
Okay, sir. Thank. Good afternoon, everybody. Today, we are going to talk a little on highlights of the teaching competencies as per the National Education Policy 2020, which has been declared by the Government of India. So, the flow of presentation will be introduction and need for the National Education Policy, the impact group which will be affected by the National Education Policy, the major issues which are being faced by the higher education system in India, the vision of National Education Policy 2020, the new skills emphasized for teachers as per the higher education policy, and what has to be done before the implementation and the conclusion. So let us understand what is the main premise behind the National Education Policy. So recently we are hearing a lot about national education policy. There has been happening many webinars with respect to the national education policy. But if we just summarize the main essential reasons why national education policy should be implemented is because India strongly believes that it has the highest population of the young people in the world over the next 10 years, and it is very important for us to have high quality educational opportunities for them, because if education opportunities are given to the youth, it will determine the future of our country, and the accent of India's leadership on a global stage will be only happening because of this young people. Also, as per the Sustainable Development Goals 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, which has been adopted by India, it speaks about inclusive and equitable quality education. That means by 2030, we have to be the country which gives the best education opportunities to the youth, to the entire world. And that is why national education policy becomes very important for all of us to understand. We also understand that right now the education tells us that what we have to learn, but it is actually very important how to learn. It is not only about learning, but it is also making a student understand that how he or she should learn in a class. That means the curriculum should not only involve the discipline material, but it also should involve arts, crafts, humanities, games, sports, fitness, languages, everything which helps the students to become an all round individual. Thus, the aim for India, as I earlier mentioned, is to have an education system by 2040 that is second to none. It should be the best, and it should be providing an equitable access to the highest quality education for all the learners, regarding of the social or the economic background. Let us all understand that the National Education Policy 2020 is the first education policy of 21st century, and it aims to address the growing development imperatives of our country. So it is very important for each one of us to understand. I will just read the very important line which is mentioned in the National Education Policy, is that creative potential of each individual. It also emphasizes that a student has to enhance their creativity, not only their knowledge. Here it is written that the education must develop cognitive capacities, that is, thinking ability. It also indicates the foundational capacities. But national education policy tells that apart from this, a student social, ethical, and emotional capacities also has to be enhanced. And that is a main goal of national education policy. And one more thing, because my topic tells about teacher competencies, I would also like to mention here that national education policy is focusing on teachers a lot. It tells that the teacher must be at the center of fundamental reforms in the education system. If a teacher is fully capable and developed, then only the education system can be developed. So, the national education policy talks about quality universities and colleges. So, when we take students, when we take teachers, it is ultimately a university or a college. And national education policy wants the colleges and the university to be forward looking vision for India's higher education system. For that, they are telling two things. One, it is essential that an identified set of skills and values will be incorporated at each stage of learning. That means if a student completes schooling, some skill set should be completed by that time in the student. The student should be capable of certain things to do. The student, when completes their bachelor's education, at that point of time, certain skills should be completed. That is why it is written that at each stage from preschool to higher education. And second is that at the society level, higher education must enable the development of enlightened, socially conscious, knowledgeable, and skilled nation. What does this mean? This means that it is not only about the students we are talking, it is not only about the teachers we are talking, but what national education policy is telling, that the education system should be developed in such a way that the society becomes more enlightened. It becomes socially more responsible and knowledgeable, and it helps to form a skilled nation. So you understand the magnitude is about skilling the entire nation through the national education policy. Many people wonder that how is national education policy going to affect us? It's only for higher education institution, but they are wrong. If we see, the impact is not only on the students and faculty members. Of course, it is maximum for the students and faculty members, but the higher education institutions, the leaders should also be aware what is the national education policy talking about. Similarly, if we want a good society, a knowledgeable society, if we want a skilled nation, the parents also should understand the role of higher education institution in building the skill set of their ward or their child. The society at large is also an impact group, the government, of course, and the country, of course. So, national education policy has not to be treated that it is only for the students or only for teachers. No. Actually, it is impacting a vast group right from the student as a main individual to the country at large. So I request each one of you who is listening to this presentation of mine to understand that somewhere or the other, each one of you should be aware of what national education policy speaks about. Let us right now focus upon the students and the teachers. I'm not going to give a comprehensive idea because it is a policy of nearly 68 pages and many clauses. But today I will be only stressing upon the teachers and the student, how national education policy is going to affect them. We all know that teachers are truly shaping the future of our children. And that is why the teachers should be highly motivated and the teachers should be highly empowered. Because if both of these things are not done, then the children or the nation building will not happen. And we also have to ensure that the schools have a positive learning environment. And the expectation of principals and teachers should be very clear to build a very caring and an inclusive culture at their schools or at their higher education institutions for everybody. So, here we are talking about two things. One is a capable teacher, and second is a caring and inclusive culture. Let us talk about what is the major issues faced by higher education institutions today in India. The first is a fragmented higher education ecosystem. Means what? There are public institutions, there are private institutions, there are semi-private institutions, semi-public institutions. So it's very difficult to understand the fragmentation of how higher education system works. The second is less emphasis on development of cognitive skills and learning outcome. Say, for example, if you're studying maths, we study tables. And how we study table is we learn it by heart. Okay, 2 into 2 is 4, 2 into 3 is 6, something like that. But do we really know how that 2 into 2 comes? The cognitive or the creative skills behind those tables? Or do we know how do we apply these tables into our daily life? So the learning outcomes of each and every chapter or syllabus has to be clearly thought about. A rigid separation of disciplines. Say, for example, we know what a computer science engineering student studies, which is exactly dissimilar than a mechanical engineering student, which is very much dissimilar to a management student. So what happens? Each students are in their own silos. There is a very distinct line between all the disciplines, which is actually wrong. There should be a comprehensive commonality between all the disciplines, and then only a student would understand the other disciplines a little better. The fourth is limited access, particularly in the socio-economical disadvantaged areas. Say, for example, we come from Gujarat, and in Gujarat, we have schools which have teaching in the local languages. We also have schools which have the teaching as in English language. What happens when they come to a university level? The students who come from the local medium schools face a lot of problems because suddenly they have to study everything in English language. Now, if the higher education institutions also offer the courses in the local language, can you imagine the performance of the students who come from the local medium? It will be at par with those who come from English medium schools. So this is also a very big challenge which is faced by the higher education today. Next is limited teacher and institution. We all know the population of youth and we also know how many institution and the teacher ratio for the student. Actually, the desirable ratio is one teacher for either 10 or 15 students. But do we have this kind of a ratio? It's to be thought about. The next is inadequate mechanism for merit-based career management and progression of faculty. So what is the performance indicator for a faculty in a college? Do we consider the passing of the students as one particular merit? Or do we consider research as a merit? Or do we consider PhD as a merit? So there has to be a thought process for this also. Lesser emphasis on research at many universities, which we all are aware. Suboptimal governance and leadership of higher education institution. We have to understand that the leader who manages a higher education institution should be the person who values a vision of national education policy. There is an ineffective regulatory system. So things are being put into control now. There are various schemes which are going to be implemented. Say, for example, a common entrance exam for all the students if they want to get into government colleges. So slowly the regulatory system is happening. But as on today, it's a major challenge. And there are many universities which have beneath them list of institutions, which actually results in very low standards. So do we have a university to which many institutions are affiliated, or do we have different universities and no affiliated institution? So we have to think on the same also. So let me come to what National Education 2020 tells about in broad terms. The first is I have highlighted, I have underlined the main point. So you can please concentrate on that by not reading the other things because it is too much descriptive and I cannot remove any lines because it is a policy's vision. So the first is medium of instruction or program in local or Indian languages. That means all higher education institution should have all the courses in English but also in the local language. That means if the university or institution is in Gujarat, the courses should also be offered in Gujarati language. If a student wants to study that in English, can join the English course. But if the student wants to study the same subject in Gujarati language, should have an opportunity to do that. The second is multidisciplinary undergraduate education. That means if a student is joining computer science engineering in a college or in an institution, the student should be having the facility to choose sports as one of the subject along with the subjects of computer science and engineering. The third is faculty and institutional autonomy, which means that a faculty in an institution should have autonomy, should have freedom to prepare their own curriculum, to plan their own class, to plan the performance assessment of the student. The fourth is changing curriculum. Yes, it is about changing curriculum, not going for a standard curriculum. The faculty should have freedom to prepare their own curriculum. The next is integrity of faculty and institutional leadership position. That means the faculty should be appointed only on their merits, nothing else. And also on the competencies, whether they have for national education policy or not. The next is research foundation, means having funding to help the teachers for research. Sometimes a researcher has to pay from their own pockets, and that is why they hesitate to maybe go ahead with research work. So the university should have a funding to help the faculty member pursue research. The next is governance of higher education institution, means there has to be a control over the institution or the college or the university, which is an external agency, not from the university. The next is very important, light but tight regulation. That means not interfering every time into the system, but always going for a check whether the system is going rightly or not. So there should be a regulation, a very strong regulation on the higher education institution. And the last is increased access, equity, and inclusion. Access, we all know that any youth of the country should have access for the higher education. Equity, consider everybody on the same platform. And inclusion is involve all the stakeholders of higher education system to give a best higher education to the youth. So I discussed about the national education policy introduction. I discussed why it is important, and I also discussed some of the challenges the higher education institution is facing. Now I'm coming to the second last part of the presentation, which is the most important part of my presentation, which talks about the new skills for teachers. In layman language, there is a teacher in a higher education institution, but now we are trying to understand that as per the national education policy, which skills have to be enhanced in the teacher, which they have stated in the policy, right? So the first skill which national education policy tells a teacher should have is holistic development of learners. That means the teacher should prepare the student in such a way that the student is not only aware about the subject but also the character and the creative ability of the student is developed. And for that, the curriculum has to be framed in such a manner. Now, students will be very happy when they read this because it is reducing the curriculum content. So they do not have to study much, but the curriculum has to be such that it enhances the learning capacity and the critical thinking capacity of a student. So it should be holistic, inquiry based, means it should generate among the student questions that why it is like this, why 2 into 2 is not 10, and why 4, something like that. Discovering, discussion and analysis based learning. The next is curriculum should also be more like experiential learning, means using the hands for learning. It can be integrated, means maybe through pictures or through storytelling, making the concept more understood among the youth. The next is multilingualism. That is the power of language. That means the teachers should be encouraged to use bilingual approach. This is very important. So viewers, please listen to this. That means a teacher can use both languages, English as well as a local language for instruction. Sometimes, if in a class there are foreign nationals, the teacher can also teach in that particular language which the foreign nationals are comfortable with. That means a language does not need to be the medium of instruction for it to be taught or learned well. The next is curriculum integration of essential subject skills and capacities. That means the curriculum formed by a teacher can have many things, assimilated in the curriculum to be the best curriculum for the students and for them to become very successful and innovative and productive human beings. I come to the next, and for me, this is very important being an Indian. What is mentioned that not only discipline knowledge, but traditional Indian values and basic human and constitutional values should also be taught to the student. Say, for example, Seva, Ahimsa, Swachhta, Satya, all these values should be incorporated in the curriculum, specifically patriotism, democratic outlook, integrity, responsibility, and many other things, which is missing today. Transforming assessment for student development. Assessment means how to assess the student performance. So right now we are focusing upon class test, midterm assessment or final term assessment. But as per national education policy, we have to rise above this. We have to test the students' higher order thinking skills. We have to check, does the student after the completion of this subject developing a critical thinking? Do they have a conceptual clarity? Have they developed some skill set? So this is how a student should be assessed. Next is transforming assessment for student development. And how this can happen? Project based and inquiry based learning means the quiz developed by a teacher or the role plays or the group work should finally lead to the outcome of the curriculum, which we talked about in the first or the second slide. That the curriculum should have certain outcomes and all the assessment should actually link us towards the outcome. And once the internet connected smartphones or tablets are available, online apps with quizzes, competition, assessment also can be brought about, because this will be very interesting for students. Very important point here is teachers will be given more autonomy in choosing aspects of pedagogy so that they may teach in the manner they find very most effective for the students in their classrooms. So complete freedom to the teachers for preparing curriculum. The next point is we are also talking about the capacity building of teachers. So, as per national education policy, each teacher has to participate in 50 hours of professional development every year. That means every teacher has to undergo 50 hours of training for their own self so that they can give the best to the students. Also, It's very important to understand that there are many children or students with specific disabilities. Sometimes we as a student or we as a teacher are not aware that in that same class there might be a student with a different disability. Now the question here is, does the teacher in the class know how to deal with such students? Maybe yes, maybe not. So that is why it is very important that the teacher should be taught how to deal with specific disabled children. Next, the institution will also have an option to run open distance learning programs. That means any student, if it is he or she is not able to come to the university, can take programs through open distance learning mode. And the program will be the same important as in offline mode. The next is single streams higher education institution will be phased out over time and becoming a vibrant multidisciplinary institution. That means there might be, as on today, certain institution which may be offering only one course. Say for example, only Masters in Business Administration, but no other courses. But slowly this will stop. There will be universities which offer many programs, which offer multidisciplinary environment, because a student studying in a multidisciplinary environment can maybe learn with computer science engineering even design course, maybe with computer science engineering a management, which is multidisciplinary higher education cluster. The next is a holistic multidisciplinary education would aim to develop all capacities of human being: intellectual, aesthetic, social, physical, emotional, and moral in an integrated manner. So here, what is the role of teacher? So if a teacher is teaching in a multidisciplinary institution, means a teacher should be aware of all the disciplines, at least to some extent, right? That is how the student can be helped by the teacher. The next is value based education. So as I talked about the moral values, which has to be incorporated in the curriculum, similarly, values also has to be incorporated in the curriculum, like humanistic, constitutional, universal human values, etc. Also, it is recommended that higher education institution has to be focused on research and innovation by starting startup incubation centers, technology development centers, etc. So now when we talk about value-based and research, that means a teacher should also have knowledge on these values. A teacher should also know how to link it with the curriculum. The teacher should also know how to enhance startup incubation centers and motivate students to join that. Coming to the next, optimal learning environment and support for students. So all these are responsibilities of teachers which we talk about. So the teacher has to give a good learning environment in the classroom. The teachers also should have autonomy, already discussed. They also need to have funding of topic centered clubs and activities. So there should be a lot of clubs and activities in the university or the institution. And the last here is professional, academic, and career counseling. That means every student should have one teacher who is giving professional counseling, academic counseling, and career counseling. All the three are different. So one is professional, one is academic oriented, and one is career oriented counseling. The online distance learning programs also will be equivalent to the highest quality. So the teacher who is developing such program has to give in the best in the online development programs, distance learning programs. There should be many number of international students studying in India, and to provide greater mobility to students in India who may wish to visit other institutions abroad. That means the national education policy is mentioning that the classroom should not be only having national students. They should also have international students in the classroom. So this makes the classroom a very vibrant, multidisciplinary, multicultural environment. So they learn from each other. And those students in India who wants to go abroad should also be encouraged to do so that they go abroad, get credits and get transfer credits back to the institution, and they come with lot of learning. So in this point 12.7, internationalization for students and faculty members is largely advocated. Now one point here also to understand, we are talking about students, but I would like to highlight here that can you imagine a teacher who has never gone abroad teaching the students who have come from abroad? It's very difficult to understand the culture of a different country and teach those students. That means the faculty members also should have that particular knowledge and the way of teaching these students who come from different countries. That means the cultural aspect should be high in the teacher. The pedagogical practices should be a global practice. The student can understand what the Indian teacher is trying to teach. The next is research and teaching collaboration, faculty student exchange with high quality foreign institution. So national education policy is also telling many institutions in India are already doing this, but national education policy is advocating more institutions to do so. The next is motivated, energized, and capable faculty. The most important quality of a faculty as per national education policy, they should be highly motivated, they should be very energetic and capable. Only then the students would be highly developed. So, what are the steps which need to be taken by the higher education institution? One is mitigate opportunity cost and fees. That means think about the fees and the cost happening for the student. Financial assistance and scholarship. Outreach on the higher education opportunities. Make admission process more inclusive. Make curriculum more inclusive. Increase the employability potential of higher education programs. Develop more degree courses taught in Indian languages, which we already discussed. Ensure all buildings and facilities are wheelchair accessible and disable friendly. That means inclusive the students who are differently abled. We are also talking about developing bridge course for the students that come from disadvantaged educational backgrounds. Socio-emotional support and academic support. Ensure sensitization of faculty, counselors, and students on gender identity issue. Means everybody in the higher education institution should understand the issues going on in the country with respect to gender, environment, climate, anything, maybe politics, everything should be an awareness drive should be conducted. Strictly enforce all no discrimination and anti-harassment rules. And last, develop institutional development plans that contain specific plans for action on increasing participation from other institutions also. So these are the steps which needs to be taken by higher education institution if they would like to implement the national education policy. So at last, the conclusion which I would like to make here is the National Education Policy 2020 provides a level from sorting and selection to human development and enabling every student to develop their maximum potential. That means till today The student is understanding everything theoretical and practical concepts of their discipline. But the national education policy wants them to not only do this, but also evolve into a better human being with very much capacities beyond, the discipline capacity, and come to a maximum potential, and also become the best educational institution in the entire world. So India and the world will be very better off if this vision is realized in practice. So this was about my presentation today. So we discussed about national education policy. We discussed about the challenges faced by the higher education institution. We talked about the skills which are required by a teacher and a student as per the national education policy. We also talked about what higher education institutions should be doing to develop and come to terms with the national education policy. So this is all from my end. Thank you so much. Namaste. Hello, Bridget sir. Bridget sir.